welcome back to Movie Review Mom. And if this is your first time visiting my YouTube channel, yay, you made it. I've been waiting for you. I'm the mom and I do the movie reviews. And my goal is to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality as well as content so that you can make the best decision for you and your family as to whether or not you want to spend your time and money watching a specific film. So today, the movie I'm reviewing is called Bigfoot Family. The great news is that it is now available on Netflix. The movie rating is PG here in the United States and TVY7 in Europe. It's an hour and 29 minutes, and I'm going to give you my movie review mom grade at the end of my review. So first, I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell. I'll point out things I liked and didn't like, as well as offer tips for parents, themes worth talking about, and even recommendations for other movies that are sort of similar that I think that you're really going to like. Okay, let's get started. In a nutshell, one of my YouTube channel subscribers, Katlego Asegai, I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, has been wanting me to review this movie. So I'm finally doing it. Yay! Bigfoot Family is actually a sequel to the Belgium-French children's animation from 2017 called Son of Bigfoot. And that's why I gave the European movie rating. I haven't seen the very first one in the franchise, but my subscriber says Cat Lego's favorite movie of all time. So I'm still trying to get access to it. I'm still trying to find it online. I've heard that this new addition to the franchise doesn't quite match the content nor the heart of the original one. So I'm really curious to see what Cat Lego is going to say about this movie review and the sequel. While the animation itself is really good, it's a ridiculously woke movie that screams environmentalism with an inaccurate portrayal of the oil industry that's actually turning off a lot of viewers. The film is written by Bob Barlin and Cal Brunker and directed by Ben Stassen and Jeremy DeGrussen. So there were plenty of things I really liked about the movie. Let me tell you about them. First of all, I felt like the colorful animation was super detailed and completely adorable. A lot of reviews that I've read just say, oh, the animation was terrible. I thought it was really cute. And I love it when directors really include lots of little tiny details. That attention to detail really makes a movie so much more rich, don't you think, in the tapestry that's woven for the movie. The beautiful opening features an aurora borealis in the sky, which has been on my bucket list to see for decades. I was going to go to Iceland last year, but because of the pandemic, my trip got canceled. So I rescheduled for this year. Fingers crossed that I'll be able to go this fall. Because the movie focuses on environmentalism, you get to see some beautiful cinematography, picturesque landscapes, gorgeous nature. You get to go to Alaska and Canada. I thought it was pretty funny that they showed the border crossing guard in Canada as very friendly. And then they showed the Alaska border crossing agent in America as being very suspicious and mean, which is probably true. There's a very energetic musical soundtrack with some original sounding songs. And there was a lot of humor with lots of visual gags and some spoken lines. So the story is that Bigfoot is discovered and he's a dad, and I won't get into all of the details, but he's able to be reunited with his family. So of course, he's caught the attention of the media, and there's an agent who tries to get him to merchandise all of these shows and products. And actually, I thought some of the ideas are pretty funny and kind of clever. The animated humans actually look like real humans, real people that I've seen in real life. I thought that that was really good. And every little kid who watches this movie will absolutely be able to relate to much of the technology that's used in the movie, such as cell phones, social media, and even drones. Now, there were definitely some things I didn't like about the movie, so let's talk about those. First of all, you get to learn how Bigfoot came to be. Sort of. There's an explanation, but it doesn't make that much sense. And what's funny is that it absolutely doesn't explain how his son was able to inherit his magical powers and traits. The timing doesn't make sense at all because the son says that he inherited his traits and magical powers from his father, who was turned into Bigfoot after he was born. So, of course, most kids aren't even going to notice that gigantic plot hole. The movie, as I said, really hits it hard on environmentalism. So, kids will think that oil is the worst thing ever. But before they decide to chain themselves to an oil refinery fence to protest, discuss all of the good things that oil does provide in their lives. You might also point out that to get to Alaska to save the environment there, some of the characters drive in a gas guzzling conversion van to get there, and another character flies to get there. So, talk to your kids about what oil provides and how they use it, and maybe how they could tone down some of their usage in order to protect the environment. Now, of course, I'm all for saving the earth, of course, but there are so many inaccuracies about what happens in order to drill for oil, at least here on American land. For example, they show bombs being dropped in big holes to get the oil for fracking, or oil rivers that flow all over the property where they're retrieving the oil. Children are definitely going to get the wrong information from this very leftist propaganda. So, depending on what your political persuasion is, have a conversation with them, be honest, and tell them which pieces of the movie are probably true and which ones are probably not true. One of the big skills that universities are looking for when they're accepting students into college is critical thinking skills. You can begin developing these skills in your children at a very young age by simply having a conversation after the movies that they watch and say, what was true? What wasn't true? How accurate was that? What did you think about this, that, or the other thing? Another thing I thought was kind of odd was that the animation style changes when some of the characters are taking a road trip. So you've seen this kind of thing in movies before where they show a different style of animation, but it wasn't really necessary in this movie because it is an animation and it just sort of looked out of place. There are scenes that talk about and show a ghost town, but nothing really ever came of that. They could have done something interesting and fun. Being able to talk to animals is such an overdone trope in animations, right? Don't get me wrong, I wish I had that magical power. And then the name of Bigfoot's son is Adam, which I thought was actually a clever name for the character. But he sounded like a girl the whole time. And I wondered. So after I watched the movie, I looked it up. And sure enough, I wasn't surprised to find out that he is voiced by a woman named Jules Medcraft. Now, let me give you some tips for parents. There's no profanity. So, yay, that's great. There is some cartoon violence. A wolf tries to eat a rabbit many times. Bad guys try to shoot innocent people. There's kidnapping, dishonesty, and greed. And speaking of that, some of the other themes that are illustrated in the movie are environmentalism, as I keep saying, global warming, family, fame, and what that can do to you and your family, expectations, destiny, power, the power of social media specifically. And then here's a quote that I thought was really good by Bigfoot, who's voiced by Alexis Victor. He says, whoever you are, wherever you are, you can make a difference. So speaking of lines, I always write down funny lines and interesting lines to share in my written movie reviews over at moviereviewmom.com. So you can run over there and check those out, but I'll share some of them with you right here, right now. So One of the characters is a little raccoon named Trapper, and he actually made me laugh out loud a few times. So when Bigfoot comes home and this agent is trying to get him to sell all of this merchandise, by private labeling his face, his name, his fame, and all of that, this little raccoon is playing a video game and he says, "Wait, Bigfoot shoots fireballs? This game's logic strains credulity," to say the least. I just thought that was kind of funny. And now Bigfoot has to decide, is he going to do all of this merchandising and sell all this junk? And he says, "I want to do something meaningful with my life." And then the agent, who's a pretty slimy guy, says, "I can't take 10% of meaningful." So let that be a lesson to your kids that you choose how you want to create your life. I thought that was actually a good lesson. And then another line that actually kind of made me laugh out loud was when they're in Alaska and there's this group of protesters protesting, drilling for oil. And so this one hippie guy who's a protester says, "Now put on some sandals, throw on a poncho, and we'll get you some kombucha and goji berry granola." I thought, wow, that's like one of the most hipster hippie things I've ever heard. All right, I'll share one last one with you. This one is also spoken by Bigfoot. And he says, "What's the point of fame if I can't make the world a better place?" And I love that. I thought, yeah, I wish people would use their power, prestige, money, and authority to make the world a better place. Every time I see a spammer online or somebody who's just unethical, I just think, come on, there's more to life than just money and doing anything it takes to get it. But that's just me. All right, so you want to know the movie review mom grade I'm giving this movie? Balancing out the very delightful animation with the blatant propaganda, I had to kind of give it in a middle score of a C. So I'm really curious to see what grade you're going to give it. But before we go, let me give you some recommendations for some other movies that I think that you'll really like, especially if the environmental propaganda doesn't drive you nuts. So many viewers are saying, can't we just have a nice movie? Yeah, I love nature, but why do you have to bash on another corporation or an entire industry? So I'm just saying. So here are some movies that actually do teach environmentalism also, but it's just not as blatant, I think. Well, I take that back. This first one that I'm going to tell you about is very blatant. It's Dr. Seuss's The Lorax. Now, Dr. Seuss is getting a very bad rap in the news lately. So I don't know how you feel about him, but the animation on that movie was very cute. And of course, it teaches a lesson about being kind to nature and the world around us. Another fantastic movie is Avatar. Now, it definitely teaches environmentalism, but there's more to it than that. And the animation was groundbreaking. I can't wait till the next one comes out. And then another one, this is a really old one that I had my kids watch when they were little, is Fern Gully. They thought it was really fun to watch. And every time my husband would walk by the TV, he would just go, "Oh, preaching to our kids. Can't we just have an enjoyable movie?" Now, that being said, I'm all for putting a purposeful meaning and lesson in the movies, right? I think that that's important to not just pass the time, but to teach a moral or a lesson. But when they bang you over the head with it, that's when it becomes really annoying. All right, that's it for my movie review today. Thank you all for going over to Patreon to support me there. And there are plenty of free ways to support my growing channel. One is by simply liking the video and subscribing and sharing it with your friends. And when you get a minute, be sure and join my Facebook group called Movie Review Mom. All right, until I catch you in the next one, bye for now.